everyone, welcome to KC3D Sparks. Today we're going to be going over how to use the M3D software for 3D printing. Stupid. Hey everyone, welcome back to KC3D Sparks. Today we're going to be going over the M3D software for 3D printing. Today I'm going to be showing the castle tiles that we made last time, so if you didn't see that, I'll put that link in the description below, so go check that out and then come back to this and we'll print them out together. I am going to be focusing a lot on the scaling, so if you have had any issues before where it's like you import your models and it's just not importing properly, I'm going to be going over what might be happening and how to fix it. So let's get to it. So as you can see here, I already have a model loaded that fits perfectly. When this prints out, each one of these squares is going to be 1 inch. Unfortunately, if you saw the other video, the 4-inch by 4-inch tile is actually too big to print on here. So I can only print the 2 by 2, so I'm going to be printing a lot more of these than I had hoped for. So other than that, you can also see that when you import, the scale is just set to 1, so it's kind of hard to judge as far as like what is going on, and you can't really tell what size it is. So let's say, because this model that is imported currently is in millimeters. Usually if you've seen my videos before, you know I like to model in inches. However, if you upload an STL file into the M3D software that's you exported in inches, it's going to import like this. This is that 4 by 4 tile I was talking about. Definitely not the right size. So in order to get it the right size, you have to increase it a whole lot, and then it's a guessing game of whether or not it's the right size or not. There are these ruler edges, however, it's really hard to view since these buttons are right here and you can't move the buttons at all. So I don't recommend just guessing, because when you do guess, I usually end up not getting the right size that I wanted. So I will change my tiles to millimeters in order for it to import properly. I haven't had this issue on Shapeways or any other 3D software that I've used. Inches work perfectly fine in those. I don't know what the translation issue is for this software, but let me show you how I go about changing my models from inches to millimeters. So we're going to go back to Blender, and here is my 3D file, and currently everything is set to inches. I have my 2-inch by 2-inch by 1/8 inch size. So you'll notice if you go over here when you're in this tab, when you change to millimeters, it says 2 millimeters by 2 millimeters by 0.133 millimeters. That's not right. That's not going to export and import into the 3D software properly. So what you'll want to do is open up your calculator, and anything that you need to convert from inches to millimeters, you'll multiply 25.4. So for our 1/8 inch is 0.125, so times 25.4, 3.175. So we're going to put 3.175 millimeters in there. And then you're also going to do the 2 times 25.4, 50.8 millimeters. Now you'll notice it gets a lot bigger. That's fine. That's what we want. Blender just shows millimeters in here much bigger. It'll still be 2 inches by 2 inches. So what you'll want to do, File, Export, File, Export, STL, just like normal. I'll typically change it to a different file format since I still like to have my inches for Shapeways and other things like that. So for this one, I'll just add a mm so I know it's in millimeters. Once you save that, you can go back into the M3D software, open the model, select the millimeter one, and it will import just like that for you. So if you have a bigger printer or anything like that, their newer printer, I don't know if it uses the same software. I would assume it's very similar though. You could always put more in here or assign them. No, you can always put more in here and print it out just like that. So after you import your model, you'll be able to move the location of it anywhere that you want, but typically you'll just want it centered. It's fine. Again, you can change the scale, but if you converted your model to millimeters, it will work just fine. Just print it as is, and you don't have to worry about these ones. And then again, you can rotate this as well, but you don't really need to do that either unless you want to. For these flat tiles, it doesn't really affect it what direction it's in. I would just leave it normal. After you get all of your positioning and rotation, everything, make sure your ink is in here correctly. It will, it does explain how to do all of this properly. You can go ahead. I usually just leave my default settings that it came with. The default seems to print the miniatures pretty well. Of course, other people like to go in and change it up, but I find that this has worked out pretty well for me. So I have the white filament in there now, so what I'm going to do is just hit print. The print that I currently just did, I wanted a very pristine one, so that way it came out, that way it came out perfect. It has pretty much no flaws to it. It just has the normal like printer lines, and it works very nicely for what I need. However, I will sometimes go back in here, and a lot of my prints, I'll just print the 350 microns with the low fill density, so that way it prints very fast. Like it says, it prints in an hour. When I printed this with the thicker walls, it added a half hour onto the print time. So I'm probably going to go ahead and start doing medium quality for some normal prints with probably the hollow thick walls. But when I printed this very fast print 350 microns with the hollow thin walls, I did get, you know, kind of some variation in the top print. It's not perfect at all, but I was also kind of going for that look because I wanted to paint in some like cracks and deformation in the actual tiles themselves, so that way I can get, so that way it's, you know, a little bit more ruined. These ones are pristine, so that way it's a perfect castle tile, and these ones can be in some sort of ruined part of the castle. So one other thing I would recommend, if we go back into the software real quick, I don't use a raft for printing the tiles because I don't have any issues with this, and it just saves a lot of plastic if I don't use the raft. For pretty much any other print, I would recommend using a raft. Just so that way you don't have to worry about anything coming and lifting off of the print bed while you're printing. But for the tiles, since it's very flat and already has a huge base, I don't need a raft. I also turned off wave bonding because, again, it prints very flat and it doesn't need that, and I found that it's unnecessary. Support material, it's, again, it's very small. It doesn't need any support material since it's not, it just doesn't need it. If I was printing like the well or something that we modeled before, that I did print with support material, just because it would need it so that way it didn't shift while it's printing or fall down or anything like that. I just really recommend using support material when it's much taller and has a lot more variation in the size as the printer nozzle goes up. Model on model support, I pretty much always leave this checked, just so that way it just makes the model stronger and more reliable and less likely to fall apart. Verifying the bed level, I usually do this whenever I start. If I'm printing model after model after model in a row, I'll turn it off after I'll usually turn it off after a while just because it doesn't need to check it every time. So, of course, always do this the first time, like even if it's just heating up again, I always like to verify the bed level. But after I'm printing a couple times in a row the same day, like I'll usually turn this off after a while just to save some time. Another thing that I usually always leave on is this skirt. So the reason I usually leave this on is because whenever you go and you print out the reason I leave this on is because with this tile, you can see here that it actually left a little loop, and that's typically just extra plastic that was left over on the nozzle that I didn't clean off because either I wasn't paying attention or I walked away as it was starting, and I don't want to have to check this every time. So in order to make sure you don't get any other plastic or clogs stuck onto this model, just like with this skirt that printed with this tile, go ahead and print a skirt so that way any clogs come out during this like test square. It'll print out essentially a ring around your print. Start here and then it'll start printing the base inside of this. So I always recommend doing a skirt so that way you can get any clogs out. You find the issues here and then it'll do your model and you won't have any issues. Much better. Highly recommended to leave that on. Once you verify, get everything that you need. We'll do medium quality, fill density. If you're doing tall models like the well or other things that just have more detail and things like that, I would recommend going up in this. But again, since this is a very small print, it's not very tall at all. I just do the hollow. There's no reason to have any fill inside of the model. So once you're done, you'll be able to hit print. It will give you the estimated time, the estimated filament, and you can either hit start now or have this just count down, but usually I'll hit start now. And it'll give you this little warning. A new job has started. Please do not unplug your micro while it's printing. If you unplug your micro while printing, you'll have to recalibrate it. So obviously just make sure that when you start a print, just let it finish. Don't undo it. It's not good for your printer. So I haven't printed in a few hours, so the nozzle's going to heat up. It'll tell you it's heating up, and then once it's done, you'll be able to see it start printing. So that concludes our video for today, guys. If you have any questions, make sure to leave a comment down below. I'll gladly answer any questions, and if I don't know the answer, I'll look it up and see if I can help you out with it. Also, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe, and give me any other recommendations of things that you would like to see in my upcoming videos and posts. Thanks again, guys. I will see you next time.